had another vision. This was 2 days ago at 21 Days of Prayer. This one seems to be another vision of the same event that the first 3 visions, that my previous 3 videos were all of what seems to be the same event, the same thing. So this seems to be maybe a final vision that kind of puts it all together. So I've had this experience before where I'll have a series of visions and each one is from a different vantage point or kind of tells a little bit different piece of the picture. So I think that's what this one is. So the vision began. This time I heard a word, seems to be the voice of God, very loud, yelling this out. And the word said, join hands with heaven. Join hands with heaven. So I heard this and then immediately the vision began. So similar to the second vision, this time my spirit went down into the earth, down to the center of the earth. And if you saw that video 2 videos ago, when I got down to the center of the earth, there was this enormous tree in the center of the earth. And I understood that this tree represented Jesus Christ. Of course, we think of the scripture when Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. This seems to be kind of a visual representation of that scripture. And if you remember in that vision, while I am watching this tree, I see the spirits of saints. So probably saints of Christians who have already passed on, and saints of Christians who are alive now. I'm not sure, but I could see all of these saints' spirits come down, float down toward the tree. And when they reached the tree, they would grab onto the trunk of the tree. And then when they did this, they started to become part of the tree. And so in that vision, I could see as they touched the tree, the bark of the tree would start to grow up over their hands, up their arms, and they would become branches of the tree. So this time, when I got down there and saw the tree, it appears that all of that had already taken place. I could see the saints as part of the branches. They were comprising the branch system of this tree. And the tree was much, much bigger than what it was in my previous vision. So as I'm coming down, my spirit gets very close to the tree. I go down to right next to the roots and slowly start moving up from the roots up the trunk of the tree. I'm right next to it and I can see everything in just fine detail. I can see all the bark. As before, there are kind of little holes in the trunk and I can see the sap inside of the trunk running up and down from the roots up to the branches, and it looks like lava. It's glowing, brilliant, hot, just pulsing with life, and I can see this moving up and down through the tree, and my spirit continues to move upward and upward, up the trunk toward the branches, and as I get up to the branches, I can see that the tree is continuing to grow and get bigger very, very fast. So my spirit's moving upward with the tree as it grows and gets bigger. And so it finally fills the entire inside of the earth. And once it fills the entire inside of the earth, it grows up through the surface of the earth. So it's actually on top of the ground of the earth now, continuing to grow and get bigger. And at this point, I am at the very ends of the branches. So in the leaves, I'm surrounded by the leaves of the tree. And I could see just all the fine details. The leaves were a deeper color green than any green I've ever really seen in real life. And they were very thick looking, very healthy. They were wide leaves, kind of like oak leaves. And so as I am just surrounded by the leaves and looking at all of the sudden fruit starts popping up at the ends of the branches. So pop, 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 as I'm watching, and then more and more, and eventually there's hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of all of this fruit just all over the ends of the branches. And I was right there. I could see it very clearly. I've never seen any fruit that looks exactly like this. They were round like an apple, but a little oblong, kind of like a pear. So a mix between apple and pear, only bigger. So maybe about this big, maybe grapefruit size. And they looked very juicy and delicious. And so I am just watching them continue pop, 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 pop. And now that I'm on the surface of the earth, I look around and I can see that all of the warriors from my last vision who are running through the fields with their swords, so I can see them now. And I'm in the tree and they're running toward the tree. So when they get to the tree, they stop. And I see them start grabbing the fruit and start eating the fruit. And they seem to really enjoy it. It seems to be very delicious, and it also seems to be strengthening them. So as they're eating it, they look like they're getting stronger and healthier and bigger than they were before. And so my spirit continues to go upward and upward. So now I'm outside of the leaves, I'm up above the tree, and I look up. And as I look up, I can see up in the sky the mesh of saints that I saw in my first two visions. So this is something, if you haven't seen those videos, I've seen many times in visions before, and it is just all of these millions of the spirits of saints who have passed on, and their souls are with God in heaven, and they form this mesh, grasping hands together that encircles the whole earth, and they are praying for the earth as they do this. So as my spirit is going up higher, I look up and I can see this mesh of saints above me. So I'm looking at them continuing to move up toward them, and finally I reach them. So I am with them, they are all around me, and they had been holding each other's hands, and when I reached their level, all of a sudden, at the same time, they all let go of each other's hands and they reach out like this. And so I turn around and look to see what are they reaching out toward. And when I turn around, I see that the tree has now gotten so big that it is up, has covered the whole earth, and it is up in the sky and has almost reached them. So it is growing up out into space now. And I can also see that the warriors are now inside of the branches. They are now among all of the branches, and they are doing the same thing that I had seen the saints do before. So they are grabbing the trunk of the tree, and as they do that, they are becoming part of the branch system of the tree, and I can see the bark growing up, and they are becoming one with this tree. So I'm watching that happening. And so as the tree and the warriors and the saints who are part of the tree continue to get bigger and bigger and closer to the saints, the mesh of saints around the earth, they're almost touching, and the saints in the mesh have reached out and they're grabbing onto the branches. Only these branches now look like hands. And so I can see, I keep seeing close-ups of all these hands grasping each other. So just hundreds and millions of hands just grasping each other, connecting the mesh of saints to this tree that comes from the center of the earth. And so I continue watching that, and my spirit is still going outward. So my spirit goes back out into space far enough that I can see the whole earth, only I can't even see the earth anymore. Now it's completely covered by this tree. And the tree has now connected to the mesh of saints as well. So the whole thing is this big, glorious tree. And I seem to have hypervision at this point, because even though I'm very far away in space, looking at all of this, I can still see the finest details. I can see each individual leaf. I can see all the different saints and their hands and the fruit and the bark. I can see everything with the finest detail. My human eyes could never see such clear details like that. So it was just an amazing thing to see. Then, like in my previous vision of the tree, I could see all the way down to the roots in the very center of the earth, and I saw a little fire that was starting in the base of the tree. And at first it was really tiny, and then as I watched, it kept getting bigger and bigger and hotter and brighter, and started moving up the trunk. moving up the trunk, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and to the branches, and then started going up out each of the branches. Then when it got to, the fire had reached about halfway out, all of a sudden there was this huge explosion, and the whole thing just erupted into this bright, hot fire. And it was just burning and burning and so hot. I seemed to be able to feel the heat in the vision. And it was just, as in my previous visions, the fire I know can sound like something dangerous and negative, but I did not get that feeling at all. It was something very glorious and wonderful and positive, like the glory of God, just engulfing everything. And so I'm just watching, I'm in awe as I'm watching this fire, just everything. And I could hear this glorious choir of millions of voices, angels and saints, praising God, just singing in millions of harmonies together, just this amazing sound. And that was it. That was the end of my vision. So have a blessed day, and hold hands.